Crisoya Mystara, senors and senoritas. Today you've selected Rangers in Mystara, which is a rather broad topic. Lots of people felt that Rangers were one of the hardest classes to get right because for whatever reason, D&D bases every single Ranger class after Aragorn, despite there being numerous Rangers in fantasy and in mythology. You've got Edtho from the 13th Warrior, Robin Hood from the British folklore, Jon Snow from Game of Thrones, or Samuel Heha from the Winter War. So you've got a lot of variety in how Rangers fight, but they're all boiled down to being highly competent skill monkeys. So if you break away from the Aragorn stereotype, you've got Robin that fences and uses the quarterstaff and the bow. Jon prefers to fight one-handed, and Simo, who once killed 8 guys with 1 bullet, likes to use a gun. Yeah. Who does that? Anyways, I'm Mr. Welch, and let's start ranging. Rangers in Mystara weren't added officially until it switched to 2nd edition, and since it sat out 3rd and 4th editions and was sitting out 5th edition until I rage quit a job over poor pay and constant abuse, and then I decided to write the setting back into D&D, there's not a lot of recorded information on Rangers. But Mystara had Rangers in BECMI, they just weren't called Rangers, because of the superior skill system found in the Rules Cyclopedia, and I would put those rules against any skills mechanic in any other edition of D&D. On second thought, no I wouldn't. I don't want to embarrass the other edition's rules mechanics. BECMI just had fighters and the demi-human classes, but the skills that were available were comprehensive and you could start with enough of them to cheat out a ranger. You got 4 skills to start with, plus a number of skills equal to your intelligence modifier. If you're playing a straight-up ranger, you just grabbed, for example, alertness, survival, stealth, and tracking, and then congratulations, you're a ranger. You don't wear heavy armor because you don't want to make a lot of noise. If you have a high intelligence, you can add other skills like nature lore, mapping, hunting, healing, veterinary science, snares, or any other combinations. As you leveled up, you could easily grab these skills. You were spoilt for choice. As long as you were good at surviving outdoors, you were ranger caliber. If you wanted to be a dwarf ranger, you just swapped out mountaineering with one of your starting skills. Same things for the elves or the hen. That was the beauty of the Cyclopedia skill set. You could turn a generic character into something unique just from the options presented. Damn, I miss Aaron Alston and his game design genius. As a setting, Mystara loves Rangers. It's like a Ranger paradise. When Rangers from other settings go on a multiverse vacation, they go to Mystara. With few exceptions, every nation is partially unexplored, meaning there's need for Rangers everywhere. Karamikos is mostly forest and hills with pockets of civilization. Darrican's midsection is largely unexplored and wild. Alfheim is nothing but forest, and the elves live above all the nastiness. Yalarum is a vast swath of desert. The northern reaches are hemmed in by mountains, and of course there's the Isle of Dread, which is a fantasy Disney world for those of a rangerly type. A large number of rangers are going to be former military, because it makes sense considering the size of the Thaatian military and the Alphatian militaries, and the need for other nations to police their borders means there's always going to be a source of rangers. Thaius has the Forester class, which is mechanically just humans using the Elf class from BECMI, but from their description, they're the classic ranger archetype. The Elves of Alfheim tap dance around the ranger's stereotype, depending on clan, but there's enough variety so that your elf can be anything from a warrior, scribe, to a ranger, to even a ninja type, depending on how you build it. Again, the skill system in the Rules Cyclopedia was so amazing, you can completely redesign your character with just a few choices, because it was so open and allowed the players to think for themselves. Seriously, Dayam. The small-scale ranger is also very plausible in-game because there's always a need for someone to patrol around the village and warn people to drive off the threat. You could make the village ranger a family business or even an official position hired by the village. You'd have to deal with the national tradition in deciding how a local ranger would be reimbursed, assuming that's just not a trapper that lives out there and helps people. The wilder the nation, the larger number of rangers, obviously. Alfheim is going to be absolutely crawling with them considering how little of the forest floor is explored. If a ranger has any skill in mountaineering, they are going to be in high demand in the mountains of Mystara, and Mystara has more mountains than it knows what to do with. Mountaineering rangers will be found across the setting because it's easier to list which nations don't have mountains in them. Okay, it's Alfheim and Ethengar. That's it. Only those 2 nations are Sans Mountains, except for the World Mountain in Ethengar, and it's cursed and you don't want to go there as a ranger, so I'm not really counting that one. Of special note is Glantry, because the land doesn't like divine magic, and if you're going to be using rangers using rules outside of the Rule Cyclopedia, that's all of them. If you're using the non-magical Cyclopedia Rangers, you're fine. Yeah, you're a second-class citizen with almost no civil rights, and the nobility can't be bothered to notice you, but you're not becoming bunkmates with a black pudding anytime either. If you skip ahead to the 5th edition, there is a non-magic using ranger available from Unearthed Arcana that did receive quite a bit of positive feedback. Even if you just wanted to throw back to the Cyclopedia-styled rangers, it's not a bad idea. Glantrine rangers keep away the monsters, hunt down the escape monsters, capture the new monsters for experimentation, or if you're running interference for the non-insubstantial number of resistance groups in the principalities, they will never lack for work in Glantry. And if you're smart, you'll play both sides off each other. The Serpent Peninsula is a major hotspot for rangers because the larger caravans are going to need scouts and guides. This is one perilous job because the terrain isn't uniform, so multiple skills are going to be needed. So unless you're very intelligent or very high level, you're not going to have all the skills needed to go there alone. The biggest challenge is running through the gauntlet that is the nation of Hool. That's the only way to get to the Savage Coast is going through that nation and all of its machinations. So that's a difficult prospect at best, so most Rangers just take the caravan straight to Slagovich. The big money for Rangers, of course, is Isle of Dread. You're going to have two types of Rangers, the natives and the explorers. The native Tanaroans know the nation well and are quick to run from its dangers. There's a lot of stuff running around the island that will kill you, and a Tanaroan guide is almost mandatory to explore it with some degree of safety. Now, if you're a ranger that came to explore, adventure, or even colonize the island, you'd have your work cut out for you. The Isle of Dread has pretty standard terrain types, so you've got jungle, you've got hills, you've got quite a bit of grassland, oh, and mountains. But then you're going to have to deal with dinosaurs. Then they aren't found outside the Isle of Dread except in rare situations. So go rewatch the better parts of the Jurassic Park sequels to see how that ends. That actually won't take long. There aren't many, but they do get the point across. Rangers are one of the most needed classes in Mystara because of the focus of the setting is exploration. Even without an official ranger class in the BECMI rules, there will always be ways to create one, even if you're just customizing your class to fit the area you're running around in. Every nation is going to have its own specialized rangers, from the military-trained Thaatian scouts to the far-flung sentinels in the Five Shires to the cliff-hopping Etrugan versions. No matter where you go, there's going to be rangers, and more importantly, there's going to be work and adventure for those rangers. So next week, jumping into the queue to replace this topic is why the Hollow World is ultimately doomed because of the spell of preservation. Of course, all the other options are still available to pick, and they're getting lonely, not getting picked every week. So tell me what you want to hear about. I'm getting ready to move in a few days, and I'm still waiting for the book in just over a week, but I'll do my best to keep you abreast of what's going on in Mystara. So until next week, seriously, 8 guys with 1 bullet. Confirmed. I mean, who can do that?